Alright boys, bear with me as I briefly babble a bit about the backstory behind our bell-brandishing, baddie-burning buddy who became the Bing Bong Boy in Dead by Daylight. Before he was a Wraith and started asking survivors if they want to know how he got his scars, Philip Ojomo was just a kid from Nigeria. You know, that place with the prince that still owes your grandma money after she so generously helped him out. But rather than a tale of royalty and outdated references to internet scams, Philip's story is just a big mess of sag. Philip grew up right around this time period, during or shortly before the Nigerian Civil War. He was born while Nigeria was an independent country, so sometime after late 1960. He had a loving mother and father who encouraged him to be good at math and chess so he could have more opportunities than they had. Since this is Dead by Daylight and not Brain Age for the Nintendo DS, I think many of you know that this is just about as happy and as mathy as the story is going to get. As conflict stirred up in his country, Philip came to be familiar with the sights and sounds of mercenaries or soldiers, not much of a difference in this case, invading villages and slaughtering people there. They also would light the bodies on fire to hide the evidence. He grew to have a deep-seated hatred for people who kill and commit atrocities in exchange for money. That's foreshadowing for the end of the story, by the way. One day, his father and mother heard a radio broadcast promising safety and shelter to refugees and went to investigate. Much like your father who left for cigarettes 20 years ago, they never returned. However, unlike your father who left for cigarettes 20 years ago, it's because they died. So Philip was sad and found reassurance in knowing that he still had two things: his father's lucky bell and his grandma Abigail. Then a few days later, his grandma Abigail was killed, so at least he still had his lucky bell. Eventually, Philip found a new family who took him in. Their names were Funaya, Emeka, Nikki, and Chika. Despite having this newfound shot at life, it's clear that what Philip went through destroyed much of his humanity. He wanted nothing more than to see the mercenaries and their benefactors suffer. It's pretty clear that at this point the entity is working on Philip, taking every opportunity to be like,
"We're here to make you think about death and get sad and stuff!"
However, Philip is very fortunate to have Funaya in his life, as her undying optimism and her trust in the good of humanity monologues make her the daredevil to Philip's Punisher. Their discussions mainly revolve around the Angel of Mercy versus the Angel of Death. It's made very apparent that without her, he'd succumb to his thirst for revenge. ... Ominous foreshadowing ... So yeah, Funaya and the kids bite it, and it's mostly Philip's fault. He was supposed to stand watch and ring his dad's lucky bell when he saw mercenaries, but he spent the last several nights so angry that he went without sleep, and apparently wasn't angry enough to not doze off when they showed up. He woke up to find the children dismembered and Funaya was left barely alive, slathered in honey, and with ants crawling into the wounds and eating her alive. As he tried to blubber out his apologies, she scratched into the dirt the words, "I forgive." Not wanting her to suffer anymore, Philip became her Angel of Mercy by placing his hand over her nose and mouth until she became past tense. Now it was the Angel of Death's turn. Philip had lost everything to the people he hated more than anything. He tracked down a group of mercenaries like a bloodhound, stalked them like a predator, and waited until night till he could hide around in the shadows as he plotted his revenge. He could hear the voices of his parents, his grandma, and Funaya begging him to not give in, but something ancient and overpowering convinced him that these men needed to die. He waited until they were asleep, doused the entire camp in kerosene and lit it ablaze, unknowingly catching himself on fire, causing extensive scarring and disfigurations. It's unknown if that was the only time this happened or merely the first in a series of revenge killings, but eventually Philip got to the point where he wanted to try to move on from the revenge business. He wanted to go to a place where he could start anew, somewhere where surely nobody would ever let anybody die in exchange for money, somewhere like America. He found a job working at a scrapyard for some dude named Azarov. Philip's job was to crush the cars, which he felt was simple and harmless enough. However, one day he noticed a bit of blood coming from the trunk of a car he was about to crush. Upon further inspection, Philip found a man bound and gagged in the car. He set him free, only for Azarov to immediately catch the man and slit his throat. Turns out Azarov worked for the mafia and would kill people in exchange for money, and Philip was the tool he used to kill them. Philip had unwittingly become the thing he hated most in the world, and that brought back all kinds of feelings. In a fit of rage, he subdued Azarov and slowly crushed him in the car crushy thing. Before the skeleton was completely shattered, he went sub-zero on Azarov and tore out his skull and spinal cord. The entity saw this and said, "Yep, he's ready now," and took Philip into its realm. It let him keep the bell and the spinal cord as little mementos. Much like how he used to ring the bell to warn the villagers of the coming mercenaries, he now rings the bell to warn the survivors of the coming danger of himself. And that, my brothers, is how one boy became the beloved Bing Bong who bonks, bitches, and bangs his bell. The end. Obviously, the main theme from the story is justice versus vengeance. There's also clearly messaging like war is bad, and you can take the kid out of the fight, but you can't take the fight out of the kid. I also like how Behavior used their platform to bring attention to some of the terrible things that have happened in history. Anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this. If you want to be a bigger part of the channel and what goes on, you can join the Discord. I'd love to see you there. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you for choosing me to waste 5 minutes on, and I'll catch you on the next one.